All right. I'm going to get fired.
Please don't. You're a valuable asset to the school.
Okay. We were talking about prohibition. So I want to tell some stories. So I got people on recording this, so we got them know.
Okay. Oh, we have a lot of.
So hey, prohibition. Yesterday I was talking about disrespect for the law. So like even the most pious families among you, okay? I have an idea who you are, but I'm not sure. Okay, Vincent. Is it? You don't have to raise your hand if you don't want to, but is it a problem for any of your families? Would it be a big deal, like say, if at Thanksgiving dinner, somebody brought a bottle of wine and you drank wine at Thanksgiving dinner? Okay, so you're taking something that the vast majority of Americans think is okay and making it illegal. Okay, this did not turn out well because of the demand. So yes, we kind of got into organized crime and so forth, which really, guys, caused a lot of societal problems, especially in places like Chicago, right? Al Capone, the mob, the mafia, organized crime. Yes? Okay, so if you're still looking for a book to read, you can read something over that if you want. Or you can read a book over women's suffrage if you want. Okay, now, with this, guys, you get what are called turf wars. So who's going to control the flow of alcohol into our major cities? So in cities like New York, the Italians controlled part of the city, the Jews controlled part of the city, the Polish control part of the city, the Irish part of the city. And if you tried to sell alcohol on their turf, you couldn't call the Federal Trade Commission and say, hey, these people are competing unfairly. You take the law in your own hands. And so that led to violence. Okay, and it got so bad in Chicago, I mean, they really considered sending in the U.S. military into Chicago because it was so bad. Okay, and you guys take movies in history? So you guys watch The Untouchables. Outstanding, right? Bloody. Holy cow, right? Great movie, guys, if you haven't seen it. Would you agree, guys? Yeah. Great cast. Really good, like, actors in it. But anyhow, based on a true story. But anyhow, guys, this was bad. Now, in rural areas like Kansas, people would make their own out on the farm. Okay? And I've had students in here who had grandparents that made their own stuff. Bathtub gin, moonshine, okay, making your own, okay? Now, it's illegal to do that, and then you transport it, which is illegal. So like in the South, in order to run from the cops, they'd soup up their cars to go really fast, if you've ever seen the Dukes of Hazzard, okay? And so, guys, there are a couple good byproducts of prohibition, depending on how you feel about things. NASCAR. Yeah. Guys, when prohibition ended, you had all these guys with fast cars and nobody to run from. So they built dirt tracks in the South and started racing. $1 billion industry was born. NASCAR, right? Here's the other one. You have to give some credit to the mob. The mafia, okay? Because when prohibition ended, it really dried up their income, no pun intended. They could have gone into other illicit drugs that were illegal and started trading those. But some of them had a pretty good idea. If they could get the law changed in a certain state, in the desert, in a small town, to allow gambling, then they could build casinos with all that prohibition money. And so the seed money for Vegas, guys, a lot of it came from organized crime. So if you like gambling and you like Sin City, this is a positive byproduct of prohibition. Okay? Any of you guys been to Vegas? Your parents go to Vegas? I've never been. I've been to the airport, which is cool. It's a cool airport to fly into because it's desert, and then like green, and then all these lights. And from the airport, you can see the Strip, Las Vegas Strip, which I've never seen before with my own eyes. And so you can see it pretty good from the airport. And they have gambling in the airport. I placed one bet, won $5 in stock. Okay. That's my Vegas story. Now let me tell you my NASCAR story. Okay. Any of you guys ever been to a NASCAR race? Any NASCAR fans? You do. Who's your favorite driver?
There is a business thing my dad took me to. He got a boxy, and ever since then I've just been watching.
Yeah. So I grew up in the South, and so a lot of my friends like NASCAR. I never really got into it, but one night I was about 23, hanging out at a friend's house. It's a Friday night or Saturday. I think it's Saturday night. It's like 10:30 at night. We're hanging out, just hanging out. And one of my buddies, his name's Van. Okay, Van says, Talladega's tomorrow. Talladega's in Alabama. I'm in North Florida. He goes, if we left now, we'd get there by 6 in the morning.
Oh my God.
So 5 of us hop in a car and drive to Talladega. Get there about.
What'd you say? Like, oh yeah, that's pretty cool. Let's go.
Let's go. I've never been to a NASCAR race. So it's like me and Van, 3 dudes and 2 girls. We hop in his car and we go. And so we pull into the infield and sleep for a couple of hours, and then wake up, and then the pre-race festivities begin, okay? And then you're watching the race. The cool thing about Talladega, guys, the banks on the curve turns are really steep. So that's why they put the numbers on the roof of the car, because if you're in the infield, you can see the number on the roof where they're going through the turns, okay? It's pretty neat. I've been to Indy 500 when I was a kid in 1976, but NASCAR's pretty cool. Now, here's the thing. I mentioned Van. All right. Van, one of my close friends, was adopted as a kid. Okay. So was his brother. And, but they were adopted from 2 different families. And he had a real nice mom and dad growing up. I knew Van was adopted. We really didn't talk about it a lot. And so when Van went off to college and then flunked out, was on a full ride academic to Mississippi State, and he partied too much. Flunked out, eventually got his act together, went to LSU and got a degree in geology. He's a geologist now, okay? This is what marijuana does to you. It makes you lazy. No, I mean, it just makes you lazy. So, like, friends that I had that smoked a lot of weed, guys, it just took them like 3 or 4 or 5 more years to grow up. It just, it stalls you. You're just like, I'm partying. Okay. And so you got to be careful about that. But that's what happened to Van. He got himself straightened out. And then he decided to look for his mom, his birth mother. Okay. And he found her. Van is the biggest NASCAR fan I know. And when he found his mom, she lived in Daytona, which is where the Daytona 500 is, which is the biggest NASCAR race there is. His mother's married name was French. You know who, or France. You know who Bill France was? I think it's France. French?
Like the last name was French.
The name is France or French. I think it's French. The founder of NASCAR. So his stepdad, his biological mother's husband, was the founder of NASCAR. Dude, so he moved to Daytona. Van moved to Daytona. Okay, and he reunited. He's got a stepbrother, like Talladega Nights, stepbrother type thing. Stepbrothers, same actors, whatever. Okay. I think it's a good story. So the biggest NASCAR fan I knew who was adopted, his stepdad was founder of NASCAR. That's a good story. No,
That's a good.
Kiera.
Didn't like it?
Okay.
Yeah, that one.
So Van likes to race. He always liked fast cars. Had a '68 Cougar. Yeah.
You guys had such cool cars. Did you guys think they were cool cars when you got them?
I had a 1977 Lincoln Continental.
Yeah, did you think it was cool?
No.
It's great.
Okay. All right. I'll move on. Okay.
I know what I like. I want that.
Women's suffrage. Guys, during World War I, as millions of men volunteered or were drafted into the military, women went into the workplace and were vital in helping build the war machine and keep the country moving during the war. And so Woodrow Wilson came out after the war and said, I see nothing wrong with giving half the population the right to vote. And I don't know if you ever thought about it like that, but half the population in this country did not have the right to vote. Okay, so the first presidential election that women are going to get to vote in is in the 1920 presidential election. Okay, guys, after wars, you tend to see great social change. We saw it after the Civil War, we see it after World War I, we see it after World War II. Even after Vietnam, you see a lot of social change, okay? Or, bundles of amendments. So after Civil War, 13, 14, 15, right? And then here you get 18, 19, which really changed society, okay? All right, so moving on. The first president that women will help elect is this guy. Warren G. Harding. Okay. Remember, back there, Harding, Coolidge, Hoover. At some point, yeah. I mean, you'll know it because it's chronological. Okay, so Harding from Ohio, which state has produced the most presidents? Okay, started with as a newspaper man. He was successful with that newspaper. He grew, prospered. He got into politics, served in the Ohio State Senate, was lieutenant governor, and then governor of Ohio. Now, guys, as a lot of our presidential candidates, they don't have a ton of experience. Okay? Biden, you could say, has had a ton of experience. I mean, he's been in Washington for 49 years. Okay? Either in the House, Senate, or White House. Okay? Others, maybe not so much experience. Okay? Harding is one of those without a lot of experience. But he had some other things going for him. He was friendly. He was likable. Silvered hair. Dignified. He looked like a president. Who's voting now? Now, wait a second. Mr. Ebrard, are you saying that women might vote based on like the appearance of a candidate or how they talk? Yeah, I'm saying that. I'm saying that women will do that, and I'll say that men will do that too. I remember showing a Republican debate. This would have been 2000, year 2000. So there were like 12 Republicans on the stage, all vying for the nomination of the Republican Party for president. And the comments I got from my students, like, that dude's funny looking. that guy talks funny. And that plays a role. You know, like, I'm a big fan of Ted Cruz. But his voice, do I want to listen to that for 4 years? You guys know who Sarah Palin was? I mean, she's from Alaska, right? So she's got that accent. You know, that accent. Yeah, I can't even do it. But it's annoying after a while. You know, it's kind of a novelty at the beginning, and then it just becomes annoying. You know how people like talk in Minnesota, like that guy. We're in Kansas. We're normal. You know that Wichita has a huge telemarketing industry, right? Like when they make phone calls, you know, when people call you up on the phone soliciting stuff, a lot of those callers come from Kansas because we have no accent. No, we don't have an accent. No.
It's so corporate. But you still have an accent.
Well, look, no, I mean, like people that live in Chicago or New York, I mean, they have an accent. People in the South, y'all, got an accent. We're just normal. All right, now, as you can see here, Mr. Harding is throwing out the first pitch of a baseball game. Yes? This is an American tradition that dates back to William McKinley, okay, the turn of the century, where the President of the United States shows up in Washington, the first game of the year, and throws out the first pitch. Now, what's the Washington baseball team's name?
Longer.
The Washington what? Nationals. Now, the Nationals have only been in Washington since you've been alive. They had no team for a long time, but they did have a team in the 60s called the Washington Senators.
Wait, no shit. Oh my. I said that under my breath.
Oh, you said Senator? Yeah, the Senators moved. The Senators moved to a different city. Okay? And then there used to be a team called the Montreal Expos. The Expos folded and moved back to DC. And we got the Nationals. Here, baseball is part of our history. Okay? So I'm talking some baseball history. Okay? Now listen. The president has a box. It's called the presidential box. All the players gather around, and the president throws the ball out. And so it's like at a wedding when the girl throws the garter, right, or the flower bouquet.
Flower.
No, the guy throws the garter, right?
No, they don't. They shouldn't. Do they?
Maybe not at Catholic weddings. I don't know.
Wait, isn't there, the lady throws a bouquet and the guy throws the garden?
You haven't seen this at a wedding? Anybody seen this at a wedding?
The guy's my gardener.
Yeah.
Like he's been to the
The bride will have a garter, like a,
Yeah.
and then the husband like takes it off, and it's all sexy.
Yeah.
And then the guys all gather around and they throw it.
Good.
The next person that catches is the next one to get married, right? Because only the single people can catch the bouquet or the garter.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
Those used to start the wrong way.
Now you don't have to do that at your wedding, ladies. Okay. But everybody does the bouquet, right?
Everybody.
Yeah.
That's normal.
Okay. Depends on the wedding. Okay.
It's funny. It's really funny.
Okay. Stop. So, all the players are trying to catch the ball. Okay. Now, in more recent years, presidents have gone out to the mound and thrown out the first pitch. Yes? Some of them are good at this. Some of them are not. Now, George Herbert Walker Bush, the first, Bush 41, was a pitcher and first baseman at Yale. So when he threw out, and he was a southpaw, he was a lefty. When he threw out the first pitch, knew what he was doing, okay? Obama, also a lefty, did not grow up playing baseball, okay? So he throws like, I didn't say it. Now you play softball. You play softball, and you play third base. You can't throw like a girl. Okay? I didn't mean to offend anybody. Okay? But some people throw like this. Okay? The best first pitch ever, in my opinion, came shortly after 9/11. Guys, this was obviously New York was hit. Okay? It was playoff time. And they shut down baseball. I mean, they shut down everything after 9/11. But, you know, we adopted this attitude, like, we're not going to let these people win. We're not going to let them change our lives. And so a few days after 9/11, the Yankees were in the playoffs, and they invited the President of the United States to throw out the first pitch at Yankee Stadium. Now, underneath the jacket he's wearing is a bulletproof vest, because everybody's still on edge, you understand. I mean, this is just days after 9/11. We're not going to let them win. And I'm going to show you this video. But what's kind of funny is that they put the pitching rubber for baseball field is 60 feet 6 inches to home plate, to the back of home plate. Okay? They put a rubber out at the bottom of the mound for Bush to throw from. So he didn't have to throw from way back there and maybe, you know, have a wild pitch. Okay? Derek Jeter, one of the greatest shortstops of all time, played shortstop for the New York Yankees, of the Tampa Bay Rays. He is giving Bush a hard time in the tunnel, in the dugout. It's like, you're not throwing from that other rubber, are you? Because if you throw the pitch from that rubber, dude, we're going to get you crap for that. Okay? So Bush says, all right. So he got loose. You know, they got loose under. They play catch underneath and stuff get loose. You guys, it's a big moment, man. The whole world is watching this. You know? And it just gives me chill bumps to, you know, to watch this again. Okay? So this is something that is pretty neat American history, tradition. Now, I'm disappointed in President Trump because he didn't do this. He had 4 years to do it. He never did it. And I know he can play catch because I've seen a video of him playing catch with Mariano Rivera, who's the former closer for the Yankees, who came to the White House. He was a fan of Trump, and they played catch. And Trump looked like he knew what he was doing, okay? So I was pretty disappointed in that. And Biden hasn't done it either. So I would like to see that tradition come back, you know? Maybe I'll write a letter to President Biden.
You should.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's accepting that.
Mr. Biden, I didn't vote for you, but will you please go throw out the first pitch? What? Okay. Yeah, that's 4 minutes. Let's watch the 1 minute. Get my volume up here.
Hey, bud, thanks for.
Ceremonial first pitch. And please welcome the President of the United States.
See the other rubber? Yeah, it wasn't very far forward. But...
Mr. President.
Yeah.
Didn't they end up losing it?
Yeah, was it the Arizona Diamondbacks? Beat them in game 7. Watch that. All right, you ready? I gotta show you Obama.
Plays basketball, not baseball.
Oh, he did do sports.
Arby's roast beef sandwiches, now 4 for $10.
4 for 10?
Please stand and welcome the 44th President of the United States, Barack Obama, who will be pouring out the ceremonial first pitch. Escorting him to the line is national owner Ted Lerner and the commissioner of Major League Baseball, Bud Selig. Catching the pitch will be third baseman Ryan Zimmerman.
Hey, he didn't grow up playing baseball. That's okay. You did all right. And he's a Sox fan. You got to give him some credit there, right? Okay. No, it's kind of a cool tradition that dates back. And I'm going to tell you another story about this a little bit down the road when Franklin Roosevelt was president, okay? So just wanted to share that with you, okay? All right, so guys, when we introduce a new president here, sometimes we'll go into like their cabinet and some of the some of the people that worked in their administration. Some of them will kind of gloss over, but this one we're going to talk about with Harding because historians point to Harding as one of the most corrupt administrations in American history. Okay, so we're going to look at that and break that down a little bit. And so I'm going to introduce you to some people here. Some of them we'll be talking about for a while, and some of them not so much. One will go to jail, one will try and commit suicide, and so forth. Now, he had some good appointments, okay? So you might assume this guy named Herbert Hoover is going to be his Secretary of Commerce. As you know, he's going to go on to become president. You might say, well, that was a good pick, okay? Charles Evan Hughes, Secretary of State, which deals with diplomacy, was actually well qualified for the job, okay? Helped negotiate peace agreements between Japan and Korea and Russia and so forth. So he had been around the block a few times. And then the last one, Andrew Mellon, is the Secretary of Treasury. Now, any of you have heard of a college called the Carnegie Mellon Institute? Okay, this is partially named Dale Carnegie and Andrew Mellon. Okay, pretty prestigious university. Mellon is going to be the Secretary of Treasury, not only under Harding, but he's also going to be the Treasury Secretary under Coolidge and Hoover. This is rare. Okay, so like President Biden, he has his cabinet. If he runs for re-election and wins, typically what you're going to see is a lot of the cabinet will turn over. They'll bring in new people. It's usually a 4-year gig, you know, like Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State for 4 years. Usually it's just 4 years and then they move on. Rarely does it go from one president to another. You keep the same cabinet member. So that Mellon is an oddity in that sense. Okay, so we'll be talking about Andrew Mellon with 2 L's for a long time. Okay. Now, you ever hear your parents ever say, you know, be careful who your friends are, who you're hanging out with, because it can have an impact on how people view you, and if they're doing bad things, it could get you in trouble. Yeah. This is where Harding ran into trouble. See, when Obama was elected president. He was from Chicago, and a lot of people from Chicago came with him. When Bush W came from Texas, a lot of people from Texas came with him. Harding brought a bunch of the people from Ohio that helped him become governor and so forth. Some of his cronies, his pals, his buddies. Okay? And some of them didn't have very good character. Like that guy, Albert Fall. That guy, Harry Daugherty. Okay? Oops. Now, Albert Fall is going to become the Secretary of the Interior. Grace, any idea what the Secretary of the Interior's job is? Emma?
In the White House.
Decorating the White House? That's a good guess, but no. Yes. You redeemed yourself. Okay, so federal lands, national parks. Okay? With me? Now, on these federal lands, sometimes ranchers will get a lease for federal lands for cattle to graze on. Or oil companies will get leases to explore for oil and drill for oil. And they'll pay the government money for that, a lease. Yeah. Uh-huh. From the Department of the Interior. Yeah. And they have to pay for that? Okay. So this is what Albert Fall did. This guy. He would give leases to oil companies, but he wouldn't tell anybody. And he kept the money for himself.
Wow.
It's called the Teapot Dome scandal. Okay? And dude went to jail. Okay? Now, how does that make Harding look? It makes him look corrupt. Now, Harding himself is not, I mean, he's not a bad guy. You know what I mean? Like, he's a pretty good guy. He's a newspaper man, self-made kind of guy. And but his friends. Now, Harry Daugherty is going to become the Attorney General. Now, he's replacing Paranoid Palmer, Mitchell Palmer that was rounding up all the Reds. Remember that, right? So this is your new Attorney General. He's not qualified. Now, he was a close friend of Harding and was his campaign manager that helped him get elected president. So Harding rewarded him with this job. Kind of like John F. Kennedy awarded his younger brother with the job when he became president. Bobby. Okay? This is a political appointment. And so Daugherty not qualified for the job. He gets intertwined in some scandals. And he attempts suicide. How's that make Harding look? I mean, they call this group the Ohio Gang. Okay? Now, who comes up with a term like this? This Ohio Gang that spends more time playing cards than planning national policy, probably drinking illegal liquor, smoking cigars in some back room of the White House. You can kind of picture it, right? Now, who comes up with a term like Ohio Gang? The media. Yeah. Okay. Now, Harding, like I said, not really a bad guy. All these scandals start to pop up. Okay. Like President Biden, right now, he's dealing with this classified documents, right? You guys heard about this? Okay. In reality, let me just say this, okay? Trump had him too, right down at Mar-a-Lago. The FBI raided it at Mar-a-Lago. This is a few months ago. In the grand scheme of things, this is actually not a huge scandal. Now, if we were to find out that these classified documents had anything to do with Hunter Biden and what he was doing in Ukraine or China, now you've got an added scandal. But they've appointed a special counsel. So all the questions that the reporters are asking, the White House can't answer any of these questions. The Justice Department, the Attorney General, will not answer any questions. Now, there's a couple different theories here. Biden has gotten closer and closer basically to say, I'm running for re-election. Some of us believe that the Democrats, many in the Democratic Party, do not want Joe Biden to run again. He's too old, okay, and the economy hasn't been great under him and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So this is an opportunity, because if you turn on CNN, guys, which usually runs cover for the president, you know what I mean? Like, they're looking out for him. They're going after him hard on this. MSNBC, CNN, a lot of these, they're asking tough questions. And they usually don't do that. And this really is not a huge deal. I mean, it kind of is. But the border's worse, guys. Did you know in December, 250,000 people came across the border in 1 month? What's the population of Wichita? 300,000. In 1 month, guys. Who's paying attention to that? Nobody. We're paying attention to some classified documents. Okay? I know he shouldn't have had them. He should not have had them. Period. Trump shouldn't have had them either. Okay? Yeah. Yeah, he was like, I mean, he was negotiating with them. Like, I think he'd given some of them back, and then they like, you have more. And I guess they were in talks, and then they just freaking sent in the FBI. Now, there is a little bit of something here with the fairness deal, because last week, after they discovered these at this place in DC, this office, in a closet, then they found some in his house, in his garage. And then they found more in his house. And who was going through looking for these documents was his personal attorneys that did not have security clearance to handle classified documents. Why was the FBI not brought in to search for this? That's the fundamental fairness question that between Trump and Biden. And this is politics, and I don't care, personally, because I don't think either one is a big deal. Okay, but now it does depend what's in those files. You know, and we don't know, and we're not gonna know for a long time if we ever find out. These special counsels can drag on for years. So they've hired a special person to look into it. And they're not gonna comment until the investigation's over. So quit asking the stupid question, because you're not gonna get any answers. And move on to say something more important, like the border. Jeez. Okay. Now, it's not all Biden's fault on the border. Don't get me wrong, guys. It's the U.S. law. It's our laws. Okay, so we need to freaking change our laws if we want to do something about it. Okay. All right. Sorry. Okay. So. This will kind of end up leading to his death, but I'm going to save that story for another day. Okay? We got 2 minutes? Okay. We'll go across the pond. What's that mean? Where? Across the pond? What's the pond? The Atlantic Ocean. Okay, the British refer to it as the pond. Okay. We'll go across the pond and do some foreign policy on Monday. Good?